So we're at the final parts of actually releasing the social media scheduler app to the Google Play Store. It's been, I would say, a wild ride of working on this in my spare time and working with people on Discord, Meetup, and Twitch to kind of get this app done. Mind you, I am the main owner of this app, and I primarily worked on, I would say, 99% of things. Of course, I got ideas from a lot of other people. I have been grateful to be able to work with people and get their ideas on kind of building out this application. And I'm just excited. I mean, the last time we spoke about this on a video was back in March. And back then, I was basically gearing up to get the most important parts of the app done. But at that time, I was very confident that I knew I was getting toward the end because I had already built this app out on the desktop version. If you've been following along with this application and everything, you kind of know that, but just as a quick little summary over everything, the idea and concept really came out years and years ago for me to kind of work on this social media scheduling app, but I always had it as a app that I'd have on the back burner, right? Everything else was kind of more important. And when I first did this, I kind of made an app that was more geared toward myself. So for me, it was easier for me to create Python code that connects to different social media providers' APIs so that I can then be able to programmably post content. And for me, that was a lot easier using Python. I tried to then think in an open source agnostic approach and tried to make it so that you can like do something locally on your computer versus like AWS. But as I started to kind of build it out, I just didn't like how everything was going. And the main reason was that I wanted to make an app that was open source for developers so that they could actually be able to crash and burn and learn with this application and make it better or do whatever they want with it. But then I also wanted it so that the common Joe could actually have an open source application that actually just works for them. They feel comfortable knowing the fact that their stuff isn't going somewhere that they wouldn't know of already. And I felt that that was important so that therefore they could feel comfortable with kind of like not a secure application, but more of an application where you can completely control everything. And if you wanted to learn development, well, at least there's an open source code repository for this, or maybe you know a friend who can be able to review it, something along those lines. I just wanted to make it so that a normal person could be able to use the app and feel confident that their information is with them for the most part. And if they wanted to look into it further or work with a developer, that code is open source. And so it changed everything because using AWS means that you're basically tied down to using AWS for cloud storage. And really it's just a solution to a one specific issue. That issue being Meta or Facebook or whatever you want to call it. You see, trying to actually be able to use their API to post content on their providing platforms like Facebook and Instagram or Threads requires that you actually put your content on an actual public server that has HTTPS and that allows their bots to be able to crawl through that actual web server so that it can read the content of the data before it actually goes ahead and takes that data. And so because of that, it causes a lot of other issues, mainly only just for Facebook, Meta, whatever you want to call it. And I want to be clear, let's say I skipped Meta and wanted to do a social media scheduling app for YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Bluesky, whatever, Mastodon or whatever they call it, right? Like if I was just doing those, I wouldn't actually come across one of the hardest issues that I had to deal with doing the desktop app and then later doing this app that we're doing here. After I did that, I decided at least let me start with building out a desktop application that just works for the common Joe, and then I'll go into building a mobile application, right? And when I first started doing the desktop application, I decided again I was going to stick with Python, tkinter GUI, and kind of go from there. And the main reason I wanted to do that is because I already had created Python code that is really good with interacting with these multiple different social media providers. So the idea was that I could be able to reuse this existing Python code and then just wrap it up in a nice GUI that would be an exe that was built in Python with tkinter. And I thought that that was great. But as I started building this out and as I started working with people on Meetup, I started to realize the issues that came along with this. Tkinter, although great for Python and building out desktop applications, it doesn't really have state management, right? And the concept of reactivity and state management is something that I kind of want to bring to all applications that I'm doing nowadays. There are ways to work around that type of situation, but for me, having a centralized place where you can have variables that can be reactively updated on your front end is super important. And the way the global interpreter lock works with Python, along with trying to access out like SQL-like commands and doing everything else that may be something that may be like a multi-process or threaded thing, gets really complicated in Python when you're dealing with Tkinter GUI, as it really just kind of takes up the whole thread, to be honest. So it's kind of hard to deal with Tkinter GUI with making an application that kind of looks good and has reactivity. Like, you can make a nice looking Python Tkinter application, but it's nowhere going to be near Svelte, Vue, React. It's just not going to be at that level. So I did finish out building out the Python application. I had it on GitHub for a while. And for the repo that I had in the last video I did, it was actually in the release builds. You can go and download it, have it on Mac, Linux, or Windows. And it was great. And I still plan on maybe keeping that for a bit of time. But once I kind of was dead set on making a mobile application, I kind of just wanted to finish out that desktop application just so that it actually exists. It has a GitHub Actions pipeline, and it can kind of exist on its own and go from there. Once that happened, then we needed to move on to doing mobile. It's been about 3 months since my last video, and a lot has been done, changed, and modified for me to be able to get to where I am today. So if you see in particular, you can see that I have a lot more commits afterward. Like, you can see this one right here that we essentially did back in March, right? But if we go back, I have a numerous amount since then. I basically got all the APIs for all the social media providers up and running. I was able to ensure that the accounts page works for all the logins. I had to then test out OAuth, authentication, for things like YouTube, Instagram, Threads, which is the same, you know, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of those things, right? And then from there, I had to fix out numerous different issues that came about. If you saw kind of some of the videos that led up to this, you would know that I had to deal with image resizing, because images themselves, when you're dealing with Facebook, have to have a certain resolution, right? So I can't just upload any image with any size, and if it reads it, it will cause an error. So I actually made it so that inside of the code, you're able to detect if the ratio is off, and it gives you options to be able to format your image in the right way so that it's able to be uploaded to Meta's servers, right? I then also had to then look into audio detection as well, because I was using an emulated Android phone, this thing right here, because I was using that. When I tried to go into the camera app in here and then make a video, the audio codecs that they use is 3GP. So if you're not using the right audio codecs for Twitter or Meta, it's going to cause an API issue. So I had to therefore make a detection in the application that makes it so that it warns you that that won't be supported and that you will not be able to use that for Instagram, Meta, any of those things. YouTube, it does work because YouTube will usually take anything, but I give you a warning and then it won't be allowed for those specific social media platforms. I had to work on making sure that the background scheduler worked, which actually caused a bunch of different issues and branches of things that I'll have to deal with later. The idea and concept was that if, for example, you have content that you need posted, I need something in the background to know that that stuff needs to be posted. Even if the app isn't up, if you have everything on your phone and that's supposed to be the central location, then if you're trying to post content, I have to make it so that that content can be actually posted regardless of if the phone is up or not. And with Android, this is possible. You can actually make a background scheduler that works in the background when the app is terminated. However, on iOS, that is not the case. When your app is terminated on iOS, that is it. This means that I cannot build the app that I was looking for that I can on Android and desktop on iOS. And I kind of knew that already, the way iOS works, their garden wall and all that other stuff. I kind of felt that that was going to be the case. But that also then brings up another issue that is later down the road. If I wanted to support iOS, I'm going to have to create it so that an application can be able to talk to a main server application. So if I ever decided to do this on iOS, I'm going to have to make it so that it is the client side, so to speak, and that their actual laptop or whatever their other devices, that is a desktop or an Android device, would be the main server side. So I knew I was going to have to create more, but I wanted to at least finish up what I had. This is something that I've seen where essentially you can basically make a React Native application on Windows, which is interesting, but of course not everything may be supported. That's going to be a little bit difficult, but my goal being is that if I can do this right, that I can essentially make a single code base repository. There's a lot that has to go into that section of it, but that's kind of where we're going to pick up after we finish the Android application. So that's what I wanted to say for this video. If you like the app and want to be involved or try it out for yourself, feel free. We have it on GitHub. I'll leave it in the description below. It's the social media scheduler app. If you want to be involved in this, I actually make meetups. I'll leave the link in the description below of our next meetup, which is usually every Sunday, or you can actually see me on Twitch as I actually stream the actual meetups on Twitch. So you can view all that information in the description below. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up, or please subscribe if you're interested. If you have any comments, concerns, or questions, please leave them in the comments below, as I love to interact with you guys. And other than that, I hope everyone's day goes well. Peace, everyone.